hired him to protect the house from all the things waiting to destroy it.
He's just being dramatic.
Wow, this is how you open up a season. Amphibia Season 2, Episode 1, Handy Ann, and Fort in the Road were two amazing segments that make up one incredible return. I have a lot to say, my thoughts on the episode, and some theories on the projection of this season. So of course, spoiler warning if you're not caught up with Amphibia, please go catch up and then come back. And if you don't care about spoilers, stick around for the ride. That being said, let's dive in. Alright, so with Handy Ann, I just want to get this first thing out of the way. Sprig had the most relatable subplot ever with the exploration of his packing process, dedicating so much thought and time into just settling on a slingshot to bring. And yeah, when it comes to trips, packing usually takes so much time because every single outfit matters. As someone who admires the creative process and a crew working with the stipulations to create said cartoon, I think it is important to have these universal experiences that create a broader appeal. Almost anyone of any age who's ever traveled in their life can relate and invest themselves into this B-plot. If anything, as someone who's now in their early 20s, I'm starting to relate to the whole packing experience now more than ever before. When I was younger, my mom pretty much packed for me. Middle school and high school, I didn't really put as much thought into it, just more so throwing in things that I know will make me comfy. But now I am kin with Sprig. It's become so much more of an excruciating process. Not only do you have to account for weather, but changes in weather. And don't even get me started on my particular body temperature. What am I wearing to bed? What about the fashion? The style, the knowledge of what it takes to have a simple, but as they said back in my day of the 2000s and 2010s, fresh fit. Within the season premiere, I also just noticed a lot of bumps in quality all across production, alongside a feeling of more freedom, even more energy and excitement. Namely, both of these segments feature more action sequences, but Handy Ann especially features a combat sequence, and straight out calling upon action time. I'm under the impression that Disney TVA has really warmed up to action thanks to the tunes of the 2010s. You know, Gravity Falls sprinkled some action in here and there, more so during its second season, but it still didn't become commonplace. However, Star vs. the Forces of Evil really made strides to, well, try to normalize action again in American animation. From the get-go, that show had laser blast and karate kicks. But as it progressed and the stakes escalated, alongside the natural abilities of the characters and just playing off comedic timing into something a bit more serious, action places weren't too out of the norm in the series, looking better and better almost every single time, with the exception of a season finale. The Owl House, which one can assume began production a little bit after Amphibia Season 1, has already been full of plenty of action within its first season. And come on, we know the creators are massive weebs. Love you, Matt and Dana. And I noticed that both Cartoon Network with Criger the Creek and Disney Channel since, well, forever actually, are really embracing true modern pop culture references and utilizing the interest of its general audience. And now that anime is bigger and more accessible than ever over here in the States, I wonder if the teams behind these shows were kind of able to take what I assume is a rule of appeal to your demographic with the things they like, and went, hey, our demographic likes anime has fighting, we could show a little bit more anime influence and have more action scenes, maybe a little world building. And if that's the case, I'm glad it worked. The work the tunes of the 2010s have done cannot be appreciated enough, even if I'm totally wrong about any of this, because the world of Amphibia definitely lends itself to action, and I couldn't be happier. And on that note, they battled the planter farm vegetables, brought to life thanks to a goop from Leopold. Now, I need to take an L. I thought, because Hop Hop buried the Calamity Box near the planter farm, that the Calamity Box would activate and bring to life these vegetables. And in the same trailer breakdown, I looked at that barrel of goop and said, I don't know what this could be. And leading up to the episode, I had my suspicions. Oh god, that's probably what brings the vegetables to life, I'm a fucking idiot. But I'm only human. I'm just an animation fan like all of you. I just happen to be missing all of my brain cells, more or less. However, one theory about the Calamity Box has been replaced with like 500,000, so let me dig into that. Of course, probably the big takeaway from this segment, Anne's eyes glow blue. Just like in the series premiere, bada bing, bada boom, they did it again. Now, this time was a lot more blatant than the first time, which I think was on purpose. And it cannot be ignored that both times, whatever is going on with Anne was triggered by her showing a display of bravery. Whether if it's holding off the mantis or taking on a pseudo-mech vegetable patch. Which, okay, I don't think it should even be a theory at this point. More so a mystery that opens up theories. But when Anne, Sasha, and Marcy were brought to Amphibia, they were enchanted with some kind of magic or energy from the Calamity Box. Anne got the blue gem, leaving a green gem and a purple gem. Now, I've seen some people call it like a pinkish red gem, and I'm gonna be honest, in the second poster for Season 2, the one that was released when Season 3 was announced, it does align more of that color. However, in the New York Comic-Con poster, and in the small previous instances of the show, it definitely appears to be purple. If it is going to be retconned to a pinkish red or whatever the case may be, that could easily correlate to Sasha, and I'm assuming her abilities would be powered by some kind of emotion that lies with anger, though I could be very wrong about that. But the color motifs of her character and Amphibia definitely skews towards the reds, and that would leave Marcy as the green. And while Anne did kind of go a little bit Ultra Instinct, in terms of dodging every single attack from the vegetable mech, it's not like she was breathing blue fire or firing off her Rasengan's left and right like she's Naruto. However, it did appear as if she had enhanced agility, the way she scaled up the vegetables and delivered that piercing blow. By the way, the fact that she still has the sword from Reunion and utilizing that alongside her tennis racket, absolutely badass, while also making it distinct to Amphibia. With a lot of cartoons, it's either, yeah, they have a sword, or they have an object that substitutes the sword, whether if it's something arguably cooler like a lightsaber, or just a normal object, yeah, like a sword. A great example would be Kelsey's quote-unquote sword in Craig of the Creek. But for Amphibia, I guess Matt and his team just went, why not both? The lack of significant villagers in this episode has me curious on when we'll be coming back to Wartwood. We know they're gonna get to Newtopia by the 8th episode of the season, I believe, as the first of 4 half-hour specials of the season is coming, with the episode titled Marcy at the Gates, with what appears to be more Newtopia episodes to run after. Now that it's safe to travel beyond the valley, maybe previous characters will pop up throughout this season during the on-the-road adventures. Hop Hop has established it's a 2-week journey to Newtopia. Honestly, I already love how the season is pacing itself. We already know that they gotta get to Newtopia, and that it's going to be a 2-week journey. It's up to the show to determine how soon the 2 weeks are, but for us as an audience, it kind of makes it clear to us, 1, we won't be getting to Newtopia at the very end of the season, and 2, we won't necessarily feel as if the season is dragging, because every episode in some way, shape, or form will be advancing the progress on their journey. Also, they're leaving the Calamity Box behind, like, what the hell? I thought they would at least take it on their journey, but by leaving it, with Chuck, he grows tulips, watching over the planter property while they're gone, it makes me believe that sooner rather than later, we will return to Wartwood in the second half of the season, but things won't be so pretty, as we could have a race for the Calamity Box. Now, I could cook up an entire theory video about Marcy, and I probably will, but now I have the hunch that when they arrive to Newtopia, and Marty's awaiting them at the gates,
circus, Afro.
she'll kind of be like, yo, where's the Calamity Box? And it's just like, oh, we left that at home. And then at some point at Newtopia, King New, or whoever the hell, will probably be like, I need the box for my mysterious plan. And then everything will be a mess. And I can even see the Toads coming on board, and everyone's trying to rush to Wartwood to get the Calamity Box. And they could swarm the house, although it can be repaired by Chuck, he grows tulips. But Hop Hop has the advantage of knowing that he didn't leave it in the house, but buried it in the ground. So unless a rival force is made aware of that, and sends troops to begin digging, the planters will still have the immediate advantage. And then we have Fort in the Road, which I don't have as many things to say, but as an episode, I very much enjoyed it. All the sightseeing of places that could be future episodes, Sprig constantly saying, oh, we're never gonna see this again, but we're in serialized territory now, baby. And the ruins of despair. My oh my, what is the story around here? Again, it's Breath of the Wild. This episode was Breath of the Wild, but for Amphibia. Said it in the trailer breakdown, glad to see I wasn't too far off. There was world building with the factory and the robots. I didn't think there was going to be advanced technology and Amphibia, but this just makes it so much more interesting. And considering that the focus of the season is Newtopia, I'm assuming they're kind of scummy, and perhaps their wisdom kind of goes in tandem with the technology of ancient Amphibia. Someone did a bad thing that they weren't supposed to. Plot of this episode pretty straightforward. Hop Pop has a lot of rules that would drive anyone insane. No eating inside the wagon. Come on, dude. It's not that small. You can afford it. They can clean up after themselves. Anyways, I digress. Doesn't want any bugs in the wagon. Maybe breaking a rule is how that giant bird-like creature ends up in the wagon. But Ann and Sprig are able to run off. They enter the frog factory, mistakenly kickstarts the process, and although they believe they stopped it, a robot is still made and by the end of this episode is out on the prowl following the planter. Which makes sense because in the poster, if you look at the bottom right corner, you can see the robot frog looking behind a pillar. So I'm assuming this robot right here is gonna follow them all the way to Newtopia. And we're gonna have a plot twist! But all around, Four in the Road, more so than Handy Ann, displayed the huge bump in quality. It definitely felt more noticeable here. Of course, after season 1, animated shows are able to iron out a lot of the kinks and rein it in. So the amazing team behind the show, among the fresh faces, for all my Steven fans, Joe Johnston's in the house now, in a directing position. And I assume there's no coincidence between him directing this episode and one sequence that was super quick but absolutely popped of Ann running on the factory conveyor belt. I assume it was the setting of this factory that caused the bump in animation quality to look so damn good. Maybe it was also the overseas studio who animated this episode, but just the use of the lights and the shadows, the blues, the fact that they needed the atmosphere to establish that this was unusual, that this was far beyond the Amphibia that we were used to, it just created this visual sensation that we never had in the show before. I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. But these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How did you feel about the season premiere? And again, the addition of action. The action for In the Road was more so like, physical body action. Like we gotta get moving, and not a fight, but it works. I think a blend of the action that you're giving is just as important as the action being included at all. But of course, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. If you want to give me a follow, I'm Box, although honestly, I'm finding myself using Twitter less now. I noticed all my friends aren't using it as much either. Although I am hooked to TikTok. I'm not posting anything, I'm not plugging a TikTok. I'm just saying, if it gets banned, I'm gonna be big sad. I think it's just because they only show me food TikToks and they look absolutely scrumptious, but I'm just enamored. Enough of the ramble, we're also on Instagram. And if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Fox signing out.